testing. Hi guys, so today's video I am joined by my husband Sean and we're going to be chatting about the first season of the Netflix show Castlevania.
Castlevania is written and produced by Warren Ellis, the writer of many comic books including Transmetropolitan and Injection.
Funny enough, we were looking for a show to watch right after Christmas and we're like, let's watch Castlevania, and I don't think we could have picked something that is more
anti-Christmas
yes, than the show. So the setup, I don't want to give too much away because we were kind of like, whoa, what the heck, when we first started watching it. So I don't want to give away too much about the beginning, but basically the church is a little shady and they do some stuff to a woman who is innocent, and that brings upon them the wrath of Dracula and his monsters.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
It's probably one of the most violent things I've ever seen. I
Yes.
mean, it's animated, but there were still quite a few times that I was like, oh my gosh, and I kind of had to cover my eyes a little bit because it is kind of horrifying. So if you don't do well with really intense violence,
Also just disturbing imagery.
Yeah.
Some pretty disturbing stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But the first season is actually really easy to get through because it's only 4 episodes and they're a little over 20 minutes each. So you can breeze through the first season. You can basically treat it like a movie night and just sit and binge that first season. That's what we did. And I definitely wanted to keep watching. I think the first season felt kind of like a prologue to whatever's going to come next. It definitely moves very quickly. It's a little on the nose with some of its exposition because someone will be like, you know what family I hate? I hate the Belmonts. And then there happens to be somebody in the room that's like, uh-oh, I'm a Belmont. And then you kind of find out all about the Belmonts. And so sometimes it's a little heavy with the exposition. I think it gets going really fast, but I feel like the way that they play with imagery, it makes things very clear.
I have to say, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but actually, although I do want to keep watching, I had this kind of amped up for me by a friend, and I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was like the most incredible thing. I think I was more just like, whoa, like that was
it's pretty shocking. I agree. I think it's been very hyped up. I've heard a lot of really good things. But I definitely felt like that first season was a lot of setup. But I think that's a given when you only have 4 episodes and they're all quite short. But I'm excited to see what's to come because I think what it has set up something that could be really, really exciting. I definitely wanted to keep watching. When we finished that 4th episode, I was like, maybe we could watch more, but it was late.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to see where it goes. I think also it felt like it was written by Warren Ellis, which if you haven't read anything by Warren Ellis, I don't think it'll bug you, but it kind of just felt like, yeah, that's something he would do.
He did say that frequently for a lot of different scenes. He was like, that's very Warren Ellis-y. I definitely think with the fight scenes, you kind of have to suspend disbelief a little bit, which is pretty common for animated shows, but somebody will have insane precision with
that is very true.
How far they can throw and how they can hit things and their skills. How well they use their whip. Yeah, whip skills I think is a good way to put it. And going along with that, I don't know how you all are, but there was one scene where a character is fighting a monster and this monster at one point grabs them and then throws them, and I was like, you could have just like squished them though. So sometimes I feel like,
yeah, and that character also took a pretty big tumble that I was like, how are you alive?
Yeah, which is fine. So it's not like I would say physics are necessarily the most accurate, but we're talking about a show about Dracula unleashing his
hordes
on the masses. So I mean, we're not getting into things that are super realistic.
What did you think of the humor of the show? Actually, I grew to really like Trevor Belmont, our surly hero.
Yeah, so we have a couple of different characters that pop up, and this particular one, I was like, okay. I'll be honest, I didn't love the humor in the show thus far. I'm hoping maybe later I'll like it more.
Kind of bumbling around.
Yeah, and then so there is a moment where he kind of like gets serious, and he even has the like, I'm taking off my coat moment, so I'm cool now. And I was like, you are cool now. So as soon as he did that, I was like, oh, I love when character growth has to do with a slight outfit change.
Don't we all?
And the stakes are incredibly high. The enemy, if you will, somebody who sort of instigates and causes a lot of what occurs, I was surprised at the outcome of that, so I think that this show isn't afraid to play with your expectations. So you get a part that happens at toward the end of this first season, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's where we're going with this. And I liked that because while the humor, I was kind of like, yeah, that kind of seemed like the joke that they would make right there. I was really surprised at some of the other directions they went in just within those first 4 episodes. So I'm really excited to see what happens next. But I think it's hard to pull off a whole season, if you even want a season, with just 4 20-minute episodes.
Yeah, I think they packed in a lot of character work, character development very quickly. Like you're saying, like he takes off the coat and then he's like, now he's serious guy. I feel like they almost had to be kind of in your face, like symbolic, so really get to know him. I mean, because he doesn't appear until
the second episode.
Yeah, so like
so we have 3 episodes.
We have 3 episodes to establish
character growth,
kind of the main character.
I do like some of the themes that it plays around with, and the way that it shows kind of corruption, and I do think they do a disturbingly good job of showing how well people can have a mob mentality, and how well people can be swayed, without giving away spoilers, because really, like I said at the beginning, part of the fun of this show is just being like, whoa, oh my gosh. But there's a moment where our hero is kind of giving this inspirational speech, and then someone just kind of runs up and stabs somebody, and you're like, oh, whoa, okay. I guess his words were really moving.
And the guy kind of ran funny. He's like, ugh. I agree. I like the themes, and I'm just repeating myself, I think. But like, it was very, I think, a little in your face sometimes with the symbolism. Like, there's like a very like the camera pans to like a cross, and it like falls, and you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. But, that's being nitpicky. As I said, I guess we're cramming a bunch of stuff into 4 episodes, so maybe they had to rely on some overt symbolism. I think the show does do a good job of kind of messing with your mind and who you want to support. At the beginning of the show, I was like, I like this guy. And then you're like, I don't know about that.
Probably can't root for you anymore.
I like this other guy now.
Yes, exactly what he's saying. I definitely think that when you're first starting, you're like, oh no. Yeah, that other guy is the worst. Let's kill that person. And then you see what their version is of revenge, and you're like, I don't know if I can support this. I don't think I like you anymore. And then you don't even really feel bad. You feel bad for a second, and you're like, this is so sad. Why? No. And then you see what happens, and you're like, no. Nah. And then it's interesting because you're like, well, where's this going then? What am I gonna?
Yeah, really.
And then cue episode 2. I'm like, here you go. Here's a little bit of. It's very funny, the juxtaposition between episode 1, which is so heavy. And you're like, I guess the world's ending now. I don't know where we're going with this. And then you get to episode 2. It starts with basically a bar fight. And you're like, this is an interesting change of scenery. So yeah, it plays with your expectations quite a bit within those first 4 episodes. And you do kind of get characters having mini monologues about their own characterization. Like, this is who I am, and this is my history, and this is why I feel the way I feel. And then they'll be introduced to a new group of people. And they're like, I know who you people are because of my history. I know your history, and I know what you're about. This is how I feel about you. And then they're like, actually, this is how we feel about ourselves. And it's a lot of...
And how we feel about you as well.
Yes. And it's like, and then here's what our core values mean for where we're going to go and what we're going to do. It's a lot of just characters telling you their thoughts and feelings. And then there will be those moments that are kind of in your face where it's like, you know what? They're turning a corner and they're going to be a new person now, or those sorts of things. And But I feel like it sounds like we didn't like it that much. It's super violent, and it has a lot of the WTF moments for sure. A lot of I can't look moments. And I think I may have raised my voice at the screen a couple of times. But then when we were watching the fight scenes, I was like, this is awesome. And when new things were being introduced, I was like, okay, I kind of like the direction this is going in. And then something would happen, and I'd be like, what? We'll go in that direction now.
And I think the end definitely, like, the last scene, you're like, well, shoot, now I want to know what happens.
Yes.
Like, just...
The whole last chunk of the last episode is awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's also kind of one of those, a lady figure is like, can the men stop fighting, please, sort of moments, which I was just imagining, I'm like, what is that character doing right now? They're just sitting here watching men be like, we gotta fight, so to prove themselves instead of just using their words. But it was so cool. That's an example of like, oh, it was so cool to watch that fight scene though. I didn't even care. I do want to add, I think that the voice actors, they picked some great ones. I really, really like the voices for the characters, and I like the accents that are used. I really liked, and the music. I liked the music. The intro to the episodes is real cool.
Yeah, maybe I liked it more than I realized. I think I was very caught off guard with how violent it was going to be. I did not realize the imagery that I would see animated. And I was like, wow, that was disturbing.
Overall, this show wasn't quite what I was expecting, and initially I thought that was going to be a negative, but I think it kind of turned itself around and turned into a positive. I'm really excited to see where it goes in the next season. I think that it has a ton of potential, and I think that it's unique in a lot of ways, but
it's a good way to put it.
For mature audiences, certainly, this is a show you probably do not want the chillins in the room for.
Not at all.
Maybe even not your dogs or your kitties. They're too sweet and innocent for the horror that is in this show. I would say check it out. Just be warned that it is very graphic and it's a little on the nose, but... Yes. With some great action scenes and some great voice acting and some great music and some great potential.
Thank you for watching. If you have seen this first season, let us know what you thought. Don't spoil anything for the next season because I'll be very upset.
And if you do want to talk spoilers for this season, just make sure to write spoilers in your comment and then enter a bunch of times so that nobody, even though it's only 4 episodes, I don't want anybody to have their experience ruined.
Exactly. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.